Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Don Snyder with Team DeLuca coming to you with another market update. I've been getting a lot of questions over the last few weeks that I wanted to put together some answers for and give to everybody in terms of helping you understand where we're at in the market right now and where we expect to be going in the coming year. I think it's an appropriate time now that we're coming up to the end of 2018 to share some insights into this market and talk about really kind of the biggest questions that we get from both consumers or home buyers and from realtors, which is, am I making a good investment? Is this the right time to buy? And am I doing the smartest thing with my money? Which ultimately means, am I getting a good deal? So some of the data that's been aggregated towards the end of this year is going to help us answer these questions. And the first one that I want to talk about, because everybody wants to pay attention to market cycles and when have we peaked and when are we going to dip again? And I keep hearing over and over that our home prices have actually eclipsed where they were preceding the crash, the years of 2008 and 2009, that we are higher home prices now than we were then. Now, technically, that's true. In terms of nominal dollars, that is dollars that are not adjusted for inflation, that's accurate. However, when you account for the fact that we've had about a 1.86% annual rate of inflation since 2009, then what we find actually is that based on CoreLogic's housing price index, that we're about 13.5% below where we were leading up to the crash. So on the graph here, you'll see that everything's indexed at the year 2006, which was the peak of the housing market before prices started to fall, and it shows year by year the gains and losses in that market. So all in all, we are still lower priced, more affordable in terms of real dollars than we were at that time. Now that, of course, leads us into a conversation about rates, because if we're going to talk about home affordability and how that affects people's decisions whether or not to buy, whether this is the right time to buy, you can't have that conversation without mentioning interest rates. So we all know we are in a rising rate environment and everything is predicted to continue to rise. However, according to a lot of the leading industry experts, we've seen the majority of the increases in interest rates already. And once again, relying on CoreLogic's 2018 numbers, they're projecting that in the coming year for 2019, we'll probably see rates leveling off at around 5.25%. So all in all, not a huge leap from where we're at, but it is significant enough that it's going to affect people's decisions to buy and their perception of whether or not this is the point in the market that's most suitable for them to become a homeowner. When talking about market health, this of course leads us into one of the most important aspects, which is equity positions. So I know I've talked a lot about equity positions over the course of 2018. I want to do so again because this is where I think the majority of Americans are looking for their wealth building strategies to pay off, is in the equity that they're building in their house. So what we've seen over this year is actually a decrease in negative equity by 16%. So at this point, less than 5% of mortgaged homes in the United States are in a negative equity situation, which means that a negative equity position is where they owe more than what the home is actually worth. The reason that this is a problem, owing more than it's worth, is that in the event that this homeowner comes under financial hardship, if they lose their job or they have a medical emergency, it can be really difficult to know what to do with this home and have options to liquidate it. And then to free up your cash flow in that way. Because of this reason, homes that are in a negative equity position are statistically more likely to go delinquent in their payments or even to foreclose. So this continuous decrease in negative equity that we've been seeing over the last few years is substantial and indicates greater market health than a continued higher rate of negative equity. That being said, positive equity has increased 9.4% over the course of the year, which gives us a grand total of $772 billion, that's billion with a B, in generated positive equity for homeowners. So really exciting numbers, right? This is families and their wealth building strategies that are really paying off right now. Of course, the other part to loan performance and market health is in the foreclosure and and delinquency rates. Once again, in every category, we're lower in 2018 than we were in 2017, both in delinquencies and in foreclosures. Now, as a national statistic, we're at about 0.5 foreclosures for every 10,000 homes, and in the Spokane market specifically, it's 2.6 per 10,000 homes. So we actually are rated, according to Zillow's market health indicator, to be a very healthy market right now, and healthier than we have been in the past. So really exciting numbers and important things to keep in mind when talking about these buying decisions. Now, last but not least is that a lot of folks are looking to the difference in the cost to rent versus the cost to own as an indicator of whether this is an appropriate time to buy, and again, with market health. So we know from past market cycles that when you see a really big difference, a widening gap in cost to rent versus cost to buy, that can precede shifts in the market that it can signal sometimes a decline in house prices. Now, the graphs that you'll see on the screen here are, again, from Zillow, and these ones show that house prices and rental prices in the Spokane market have been growing at approximately the same rate. We're not seeing a significant or a significantly widening gap in those prices, which means that home affordability is still in line with rental affordability. Now, the problem is neither one of them has enough inventory in the Spokane market at this time. Depending on which sources you listen to, we may or may not see some relief on that in the coming year. But either way, it means that the housing price is going to continue to rise, whether or not you're renting or whether you're buying. And it's a good time to examine which of those positions is right for you. Now, we'll go back to the Zillow indicators again, and they're saying, based on their calculations, that the break-even point for a buyer in the Spokane market is about 2.6 years, meaning that if you were to buy today, you would want to stay in that house for a little over 2.5 years to make sure that you go cash flow positive on this, meaning that you're spending less money as an owner than you would as a renter. So that's it for today. I know that's a ton of information, and if you have any questions on that, just give me a call. I will show you where I got the information from. I'll show you how I interpreted these numbers and came to the conclusions, and of course we can have any conversation you'd like about market health in Spokane and whether or not this is a good time to invest in a new home.